Hi everyone, my name is Dani, and today I'm going to be reviewing Vicarious by Paula Stokes. I read this book a little while ago, but I really wanted to be able to share it here because I think it needs a lot more love. To give you a very basic rundown of the book without giving away too much, it follows two sisters named Rose and Winter, and they end up working for Rose's ex-boyfriend Gideon, who has made a technology called Vicarious Sensory Experiences, otherwise known as Vices. So how these Vices work is you put on a headset and you are able to not only see what someone else has seen who has recorded the Vice, but you also feel what they feel. So for example, if you watch someone who was skydiving, you not only would see through their eyes and see what they were seeing, you would also feel all of the emotions that they were feeling as they were skydiving. So Rose and Winter's jobs are to record a bunch of things for the Vices. But then one day, out of the blue, things go awry and Rose ends up going missing. So then Winter and Gideon are on a mission to find her and see what happened to her. So that's a very basic rundown of the story. This is definitely a book that I would go into knowing very little. Like, that is all I would want to know going into this book before reading it, because it's definitely one of those books that if I say much more than that, a lot of things can be seen as spoilers, so I don't want to spoil you all, because this is definitely a very suspenseful thriller kind of book, and I want you to enjoy that if you see fit. So now I'm going to go into more depth with this book. I do want to put out a little bit of a disclaimer slash trigger warning just to people that may have experience with self-harm and stuff. It's not very graphic in this book, but there are touches of it, so just warning you that it is a little bit in there. But to give some of my thoughts on this book without totally giving it all away, I really loved all the twists and turns that were in this novel. I didn't expect a lot of them, especially the extremely climactic one near the end. Was not expecting that. Totally shifted my mind on this book. Of course, I will not spoil it here, so if you want to read it, you can go find out for yourself what that is. I also love that the two main characters are actually Korean, so we love to see some Korean representation in there. Oh, so great. I also love the thematic focus on sisterhood and the kind of found family trope, because Gideon becomes Winter's father figure because in her very dramatic past, she didn't really have a father figure, so he is the closest thing she has to a father. I've previously read Paula Stokes' other book, Girl Against the Universe, which you can check out my review by looking at the links in the description below. And one of the things that I really took away from that novel is that I love the way that she portrayed and showed anxiety in that book, and she continues that into Vicarious while also showing the effects of PTSD. I thought that all the characters were well developed, the plot moved smoothly, there are a bunch of twists and turns as I mentioned earlier, and the writing also doesn't really draw much attention to itself. Like, it tells a story well, but it doesn't have like a bunch of excessive metaphors, for example, like shatter me. And the pacing of this book is also pretty good. It is a little bit slow in the beginning, but once the ball gets rolling, the ball never really stops going until the book ends. So it is definitely one of those that will keep you on the edge of your seat until you finish. This book is also super action-packed, and all of the fighting scenes and action scenes are also written very well. I also love all of the characters in this book. I think they are all very well written, very well rounded. Winter is amazing, especially because, as I mentioned before, she does deal with PTSD and anxiety because of extremely traumatic things that happened to her when she was a child. And also a bit of a spoiler alert with what I'm about to say next, so you can go skip ahead to this time code right here to skip the spoiler. But I just have to get this off my chest. I was so shook that I found out that Rose isn't real and that Winter just has dissociative identity disorder, and she has an alter that is essentially exactly like her sister, acts exactly like her sister, so sometimes she will take on that alter and not realize it because she explains that she has these moments of blacking out, not remembering what happens, and in those moments that's when her Rose alter comes out. So I thought that was such an interesting twist, and I was just shooketh. I just can't, there's no other word to describe it. I was just shooketh to my core. I was just so shook that she's had this dissociative identity disorder since her sister actually passed away 3 years ago, but her psychiatrist and Gideon agreed that it wouldn't be the best thing to do to reveal to Winter that Rose was actually dead, because it would harm her mental health more than it would help it. So they went along with her ideas that Rose was still alive and reinforced them in order to protect her mental state, because she is not the most stable mentally. That was the major plot twist in this, and I was amazed, and I can't wait to read the next novel and figure out what else happens with Winter. All of the characters in this novel have to deal with some form of trauma in one form or another. So for Winter, that it mostly manifests in PTSD and anxiety. And I also love Winter because she is just such a nice, strong heroine. And I would like to compare her to Katniss, because Katniss Everdeen also deals with a lot of trauma in her past. And Winter also similarly deals with a lot of trauma in her past, and that is what leads both of these characters to be quite strong characters, because they have to deal with all this underlying trauma. I also really enjoyed seeing Winter's relationship with Jesse, who works with Winter recording devices. I think that their relationship really shows all of the effects of the trauma that Winter has unfortunately had to deal with. And now, since I mentioned Jesse, let's talk about him a little bit more. He is such a sweetheart. I love him. He's so great. He is like exactly what I would want any man to be, because he's just so very caring for Winter. He very obviously shows it, not just telling it, and he also has many traumatic experiences that also taint him, just as Winter has experiences that have tainted her as well, and that he has to continually deal with on a daily basis. And then finally, I'm going to talk about Gideon. I think he is also just such a strong character. I believe he's in his 30s, so he's probably one of the older characters that I've read about, because I mainly read young adult books, so it was interesting to have him in a young adult book. But he really embodies an amazing father figure for Winter and Rose, and I think he's just such a sweet and genuine and caring person, and I loved having him in the novel. So my overall thoughts of this book: it is action-packed, it's dark at times, it deals with very serious topics of anxiety and PTSD in such an amazing way, and it even has Korean representation. So this book gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me. So that, guys, is my review of Vicarious by Paula Stokes. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you're gonna read this book. Go ahead and talk to me more about it on Twitter, because I am extremely active over there. And I will just see you guys all in the next video. Bye!